Welcome to the Campfire. This week we're taking a deep dive into 26A. The teams in this district are Elsick, Hastings, Taylor, Strake Jesuit, Fulshire, Foster, and George Ranch. Now let's analyze this district in our Randall's film session. 26A is a very interesting district, as it's not just small, with only 7 schools, it now has a couple of programs new to 6A. Fulshire and Foster moving up from 5A ball, where both had some very competitive years. Up first, Fulshire, which has found more success of late. The Chargers, 11-1 last year, undefeated during district play. Their transformation from 5A to 6A should be seamless behind edge rushers Sheldon Rice and Chance Bryant. Both first-team All-District, both can definitely get to the quarterback. Foster's had a rough couple of years, but still sports a trio of talented receivers led by Daniel Humphrey. George Ranch was a playoff team in the Fort Bend ISD district last year and should be a postseason squad again behind running back Hayden Drinkard. Of the A-Leaf teams, look for Hastings to push towards a playoff spot. Despite not having a head coach until late June, the Bears have some talent on the D-line with Smith Aragbo and Ike Okafor. Taylor is led by running back Jackson Adioye and receiver Dylan Harris. The Lions just missing the postseason a year ago, but should be a player in the fall. Elsick relies on linebacker Avery Malvo to make plays on defense. Strake Jesuit was in the playoffs in 2023 despite having just 3 wins. And receiver Luke Amenga is an athlete to keep an eye on for the Crusaders.
The film session is brought to you by Randall's. Find these great Mott's products on the Chevrolet Inside High School Sports End Cap and take your shopping game to the next level.
Chevrolet Inside High School Sports is brought to you by the Houston area Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
For an even deeper look at 26A, here's producer Ward Fasold and the Houston Chronicle's John Poorman with another district breakdown.
All right, it is district breakdown time. We are trying to break down 26A with John Poorman from the Houston Chronicle. Last week we talked about a 9-team district. This one's only 7. So that gives coaches a little bit harder time of getting their non-district schedule together because they got 4 of them to find. But it's an interesting district. You know, you got the A-Leaf schools that have kind of, besides Taylor a couple of years ago, kind of struggled to get in the playoffs. Strake Jesuit's kind of, been hovering around that 4th playoff spot in their district. But then you have Fulshire and Foster moving up. Obviously, Fulshire's on the rise as far as football goes. Foster, ever since Sean McDowell moved on, was kind of struggling a little bit, and George Ranch. So I'm interested to see who you think might be a team that sticks their head out there and is the cream of the crop.
Yeah, obviously, the notable. It's really kind of a completely new district when you look at the teams that have been placed here together. Fulshire and Foster are moving up from Class 5A. Fulshire, I think when you look top to bottom throughout this district, even though they're moving up from Class 5A, they're going to have really high expectations, and they perhaps might even be the favorite to win this district. But that's just based on what they've done in 5A and the success that they've had. Obviously, they've done a great job there since establishing that program. They're still a relatively young program, and they're a school that's growing at a rapid rate. And so, that school is only going to continue to get bigger, more students, and lots of great athletes. So, I really like their chances in this district, despite moving up to Class 6A. I think that they'll be competing right there at the top. George Ranch, I would expect to be really competitive. As you mentioned, Foster, Foster is a program that has had a lot of success in the past. And, I think it's just a matter of kind of getting it going once again.
All right, John, it's off to Fort Bend we go next week, 21-6A, and they decided they didn't want to take George Ranch with them. So it's all Fort Bend teams, and we will discuss that next week. Thanks a lot, John.
Sounds good.
And we'll post that entire breakdown segment this Wednesday on our social media pages. Now let's take a look at some game changers in our Players on the Rise presented by Parker University. Alief Hastings, defensive lineman Smith Orogbo, is a dangerous defender for the Bears. He's both strong and fast, a necessary combination for a pass rusher. The Bears only won 2 games a year ago, but Smith made his presence felt in each and every matchup. A monster off the snap, he easily led Hastings in sacks in 23. He has plenty of colleges to choose from as well, including Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Texas. At Fulshear, Sheldon Rice is a menace off the edge for the Chargers. He had 63 tackles, 20 for loss, and 7 sacks as a junior. When he hits you hard. So he also forced 2 fumbles. Sheldon and teammate Chance Bryant may be the best D-line duo in this district, and he's considering Houston, TCU, and Baylor, among others. On offense, Patrick Broadway is a shifty running back for Fulshear. He ran for more than 1,100 yards and 12 scores on his way to becoming a first-team All-District pick. Broadway also making the most out of his receptions out of the backfield as he averaged more than 10 yards per catch. Heading into a larger classification, Fulshear needs even more production now out of Patrick Broadway. Hayden Drinkard is the latest in a long line of Drinkard family running backs to bless the George Ranch football program. Hayden made first-team All-District as a sophomore due to his elusiveness out of the backfield. He has long strides, which allows for breakaway runs, picking up more than 1,000 all-purpose yards and 10 touchdowns, and should see that production increase during his junior year.
Players on the Rise is brought to you by Parker University. Do you or your student want a career training the world's best athletes? Check out our bachelor's degree in strength and human performance today.
So what are the coaches saying? Our Ward Fasold meeting up with one in our Media Day segment.
It's Media Day. We have moved on to 26A. I'm talking to Strake Jesuit head coach Donovan Feacock. Coach, talk to me. Maybe other people are as interested in this district as I am, but when you see teams that you don't normally see, you go through the districts we've already gone through. It's always Houston ISD, Cy ISD, Katy ISD. Here we have a nice little. You're dragging the A-Leaf teams with you, but you got a couple of teams coming up from 5A. You got George Ranch that's been over there. That they're always looking for a home because they get stuck with the Fort Bend teams and whatnot. This seems like a nice little compact district, and you get to see some teams that you don't normally see. How do you feel about this district?
We're excited. That's the first. When we saw the realignment back in February, we saw the way it shook out. We were super excited to play these guys. We know it's going to be competitive, but we know these guys. We've played Fulshear twice already, non-district, past 2 years. So we're excited to have them in the district now. A-Leaf, it's always going to be a dogfight. Those guys are going to they've got. They're going to bring some size. They're going to bring some speed. So having a rapport with these guys from the A-Leaf schools, great competitors, great sportsmanship. We're excited to be with those guys. Now, Foster and we had George Ranch a couple years back. Right. We're in a Brazos Wood, George Ranch kind of district before we got with Pearland Dawson. So getting back with George Ranch, there's still some old blood that's still kind of, still wanting to compete against each other. Yeah, so it's fun.
It's going to be fun for you, Coach. I appreciate you joining me, man, and we will talk to you sometime during the summer.
I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
And you can catch that entire interview Friday on our social media channels. That's going to do it for this week's Campfire. Next week, we're analyzing 21 6A, all things Fort Bend ISD. Until then, have a great week, everybody.